Hi, Mike Mountain, author of Mindset for Weight Loss, as well as a swimsuit ready and 6-week diet plan. And we are talking about how to achieve permanent weight loss. So I hope that last video really assisted you in making some of the key choices, maybe the key distinctions necessary to navigate all the different types of products and services and weight loss programs that are out there, and to really understand what has to drive every decision that you make, which is moving towards the only proven successful weight loss formula, and that is adopting a healthy lifestyle, because a healthy lifestyle is the only thing that actually creates permanent weight loss. And I know that's what you want. Nobody wants to have a lifetime of frustration when it comes to health and their weight. People want to live with energy and vitality. I know that's what you want. So let's continue the process by talking further about it. And let's get into the other part of what is required in order to adopt this new lifestyle. Because that's what we're talking about. We're creating this lifestyle change so that every single choice we make needs to be congruent with that objective, which is adopting this healthy lifestyle. So what's the second part? The second part has to do with understanding this concept, which is your level of health, the weight that you are right now, whether you like it or don't like it, is always a reflection of what is going on inside your mind. The inner always creates the outer. If said differently, we could say, in fact, this is a major tenet of personal growth, which is if you want to change anything in your life, first, you must change. And that's what it's all about. It's understanding why we eat. Yesterday we talked about what, how much, all that type of stuff, and some of the questions associated with that. Now, if you want more detail, then certainly part of my process, part of my programs is always providing the dietary nutritional advice that allows people to follow consistently with all of the objectives that are associated with a lifestyle shift from what we talked about last day. But today, we're going to talk about the why. We're going to talk about how it is that your thoughts and your feelings have created the decisions and the behaviors that has led to the level of health and the level of fitness and the level of and the body that you have right now. So if you don't like what you see in the mirror, if you don't like what's being reflected back to you, then you yourself are going to have to go through a few changes. We always change from the inside out. Just like a fruit tree and its fruits are always a reflection upon what's going on below the surface. The roots create the fruits. We're the same way in that what is happening inside of our minds, the habits, the patterns that we've learned, the thoughts and feelings that we have and how we react to those feelings have created the behavioral choices, the food choices, the eating patterns that we follow that have led you to where you are today. And that's what has to change if we want to give you a new lifestyle. So let's talk about what that takes. Let's go through the same thing where we talk about two distinctive differences and what is congruent with lifestyle and what is not congruent with lifestyle. So the first thing we need to talk about are those bad habits. You have bad eating habits. I had bad eating habits. Oh my gosh. In our household, you ate till you were full. If you didn't eat till you were full, then either my mother or father was asking, what's wrong? Are you sick? Everything okay? And you felt compelled to eat till you couldn't move. And that was sort of like almost a badge of honor was, yes, he's a healthy young man, eating till he's full. The only problem with that is that as you become an adult, you follow suit and you just keep eating that way. It's one of those habits. And there's a multitude of habits. But here's what I need you to understand. In order to change, we need to change these bad eating habits to good eating habits. And it requires more than changing our diet, more than changing what we're putting from the outside in. We also have to change from the inside out. But to do that is a simple process, and I walk you through those steps in order to achieve that. But please recognize, good eating habits is congruent with a lifestyle change. The next thing is looking at our limiting beliefs. Right now, you have certain beliefs as they relate to your level of fitness, your level of health, your weight, of course, exercise, food, eating, all of these situations, you have certain beliefs associated with them. And those beliefs can either be working for you or against you. Let me help you to understand. If you have a belief that you're fat and that you'll always be fat, because that's what you heard when you were a kid, even though you don't consciously sense that, deep inside your mind and your subconscious mind, that recording is playing all the time. And that belief doesn't drive you towards taking committed action, towards having an optimistic and a high level of expectation of your achieving your goal. The problem with your beliefs is that if they're not changed, if you don't unlearn them and then replace them with new empowering beliefs, they'll just play in the background and limit your level of commitment, your level of enthusiasm, optimism. They'll limit everything that you do. But the things you have to embrace is that your beliefs are just learned. They're not true. They're not factual. They're just true and factual for you because you've chosen to adopt them. And yes, sometimes you didn't give it much thought because they were being told to you when you were very, very young and you couldn't process that they weren't, that doesn't work for you. You couldn't sit there and go, no, I don't want to have that as my belief. You just adopted it. And unfortunately, we adopt so much of our own parents' baggage. And so just keep in mind, the second you realize that any belief that you have can be unlearned and replaced with an empowering belief is the second you start ripping the shackles off of you and creating the freedom steps that leads to victory. And I will show you the process on how to do that. And again, everything that I'm going to show you and talk to you about is totally changeable. What you've learned, you can unlearn. But it just takes and requires a little bit of a process. I put myself through the process. I've put people all over the world through the process. And as a result, people are achieving permanent weight loss. And it may even be right for you. You'll have to make that choice yourself. So let's talk about this. Mindless eating. As compared to, of course, mindful eating. Mindless eating is nothing more than an expression of nervous energy. Notice that we do mindless eating usually when we're in front of the TV, we're in front of the movies, we're in front of the computer, we are sitting at a table where we're having a conversation and maybe we're not engaging in the conversation, so therefore, as a result of nervous energy and there's food on the table, you just start to put it in. And the reality is that it's just a coping mechanism, a very unhealthy coping mechanism for you to deal with the environment that you're in. Again, it's a simple process to end mindless eating and move towards mindful eating. It's an awareness, and then it's a process to undo it and to move forward. So much of mindless eating is also a learned habit, so it falls into some of our bad habits as well, where the second we sit down in front of the TV, we're also reaching for something unhealthy for us to eat with it. So we've got to recognize that, again, once we replace bad habits with good habits, that goes away. Once we understand nervous eating, boredom eating, mindless eating, and we recognize for what it is, then we can replace it with an empowering response, an empowering coping mechanism, and be free of that. So the next thing that we want to look at is emotional eating as opposed to positive relationships with food. So many of us have deep-seated guilt, remorse, anger, resentment from long ago emotional conflicts, and we also have stress of each and every day. We have emotional stresses from each and every day. And what the problem is that we have associated a response that food can help us get rid of how we're feeling. In fact, what we do when we're feeling in this negative way, this unhappy way, is we use food to push it down. We don't allow the emotion to come out. We shove the emotion down. The same way that an alcoholic would use alcohol to shove his emotions and his feelings down. The same way that a drug addict uses it to experience a different state or a different feeling. That is the definition of food addiction or addictions. Addictive behavior is to use something to change the way that you're feeling. So please recognize that, again, it's a coping mechanism. It's a way that you've learned to deal with the way that you're feeling. It's just an unhealthy way to learn it. Now, there is simple processes to not only change your coping response, which is one way to deal with it, And I'll introduce you to some of those, but completely different is actually how to release some of these deep-seated feelings of guilt and remorse. Because you've got to understand that so often when you have an emotional response to a situation, let's say today or yesterday, all it does is it triggers a learned emotional response of a much stronger, deeper nature from way back. And once that feeling arises, your response to it will be how it's always been, which is, let me use food to squash it down. We use food as a reward, and we use food as a punishment to ourselves. We use it to make ourselves feel better, at least for that moment, and then we actually use it to punish ourselves for doing the wrong thing. And that's why you'll see people continuing to eat. They're not rewarding themselves after they've already had that first rebound of guilt. They're punishing themselves, but with what? Food. The exact same thing they use to reward themselves. So there's so many associations and so many processes that people use in order to change how they're feeling. Again, it comes down to, is there a simple process to undo these things? Absolutely there is, and that's what my process, my program, my system is all about. So the last thing I want to talk about is low self-esteem comparatively to high self-esteem. Obviously, everything on this side, good habits, empowering beliefs, mindful eating, positive relationships with food, and high self-esteem, this is what drives us and is congruent with a lifestyle change. But you might be saying to yourself, well, won't by going on a diet and losing weight, my self-esteem feel better? Here's the problem. Because my specialty is working with people who have 30 pounds or more to lose, who have already experienced episodes of yo-yo dieting where they've tried to lose the weight, gained it all back, and feel even further down about it. Remembering that low self-esteem is an expression of feeling inadequate. It's a feeling of inferiority. It's a feeling of not being enough, not being worthy, not being deserving. And these feelings drive our level of commitment, our level of optimism, and our level of expectation as it relates to trying to move towards a goal. So unfortunately what happens is a lot of people think if I go on a diet, I'll raise my self-esteem. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. You've got to put the cart before the horse and realize that your self-esteem comes first. You've got to raise your self-esteem up enough so that you will have the level of commitment, the level of expectation, and the level of enthusiasm and optimism that you will achieve your goal. Because in order to be victorious with permanent weight loss, you need to take action steps. But those action steps need to be with 100% commitment and 100% expectation that you will achieve your desired outcome. And unfortunately, when your self-esteem is so low, you don't have that level of commitment. You sort of do things halfway. And as a result, you get a tiny response. And that response is enough for you to feel despondent. You self-sabotage, and what does it further do? Brings your self-esteem even lower. So part of my process, again, my system is about, let's build the self-esteem up immediately. So I know that my clients are moving towards their goal right off the bat with the level of commitment, the level of expectation, and the level of enthusiasm that allows them to actually achieve their goal. And that is the key. So please understand that when you adopt everything that allows you to move towards a lifestyle, such as good eating habits, empowering beliefs, mindful eating, positive relationships with food, and high self-esteem or higher self-esteem, enough self-esteem in order to take that first step and to make it count, you are moving towards the lifestyle change. This is part of the weight loss success formula. And here's something that is so beautiful that I want you to embrace. The second that you do everything that's congruent with lifestyle change, the second you make the choices around a successful, healthy lifestyle, you get to take a giant step towards your goal, but you get all of the benefits like you've already reached your destination. So instead of waiting for you to get to the end of the road before you feel good about yourself and to feel energetic and to feel fantastic and to feel like the world is your oyster and that the level of freedom that you want and living life in your terms is attainable, you get to feel those feelings immediately if you have the the right system and the right processes in place. My online coaching program, sort of a home study program if you would, walks you A to Z through the process of creating the transformation that you crave. The inner and outer changes necessary to achieve permanent weight loss. Because I drive you and show you how, I give you the steps on how to create a healthy lifestyle. And that's what it's all about. Tomorrow I'm going to send you another video and it's going to tell you much more about this system and how the process will work for you. You know what? I've loved sharing this time with you. I hope to see you tomorrow, and until then, make it a great day.